Hi everyone, my name is Sandra Regalado, and joining me today is my good friend Gwen Wilson. She is a former police officer with 22 years of experience. She currently lives in Barcelona, Spain, and we met in a hip hop class. And I'm so happy she's here with me today to share some of her insight with us. So Gwen, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, so good to see you.
I know I miss you too.
I miss dancing with you. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Right now, I'm happy that I'm healthy. Corona hasn't gotten me, and if it did attack me, it hasn't killed me. So
Yeah.
yeah, which is a good thing. The stress that I'm having now is the things that are happening in my country. So yeah.
Yeah, how are you dealing with it?
Um, it definitely makes me angry. It when I saw the video of the initial video of what started all the drama that's happening in the country now, I all I could do was cry. I couldn't fix the situation, because I'm here, and it broke my heart to see a person die like that just right in front of you, to see his last breath go, and to understand some of the things that have happened in the past with the same type of situation. It just made me extremely angry.
Yeah, I share your sentiments exactly. I was a mess, especially because, like you said, it's been going on for so long, and it's frustrating. And I think people are at a point where just like it's enough is enough.
Yes.
Um, so I wanted to ask you, just because of the fact that you've had 22 years of experience working as a police officer, you have this insight that other people don't have. And when you saw the video and you see these three police officers kneeling over George Floyd, and one of them has his knee in his neck, and another one's just sort of standing guard to make sure nobody interferes. Um, from a professional point of view, what protocol were they carrying out in that moment for 9 minutes as he was begging for his life?
When you look at the complete video, there's three different videos. There's one where you see them taking him toward the wall. He's not resistive. There's one where you see him go into the car. He's still not resistive. Then you see them put him in the car, and you see them it looks like they're beating up on him on the back seat of the car, and then they pull him out of the car, and that's when they all sit on the back of him. And at the time that he's saying, I can't breathe, your protocol does not say you sit on a person's back. He's already handcuffed. He was not being resistive. Get off of him, sit him up, check to make sure he's okay, put him back into the car, transport him to the jail. Because even in police training, we practice on each other, and we practice handcuffing each other. And for just a few seconds, when your one person is sitting on your back handcuffing you, you're like, okay, I tap out, like, okay, get off me, because it's a lot of pressure for someone to be, when you're on your stomach, to just sleep on your stomach. Your diaphragm needs to expand, and to have just one person on your back, it's like you can't get your air. And this was only for seconds in training. So I can't imagine what this man must have felt with three people on his back and one person on his neck, where he's not getting air completely to his brain. The fact that this guy sat on him even after his partner told him 5 minutes, I want to say 5 minutes, and so many seconds in, hey, this guy doesn't have a pulse, he continued to sit on his neck for 2 minutes and 38 seconds more. I'm not sure of the numbers, but over 2 more minutes, knowing that this guy was already dead, he continued to sit on his neck. Unacceptable, unacceptable.
And there was four of them.
Correct.
So let me just ask you about the relationship between police officers. Like when you see that there is an unnecessary aggression being used, um, do you feel like is it okay to be like to intervene and say like, hey, I think we're going too far. Like, I think we have to stop. Like, how do you guys communicate with each other if you don't agree with what one of the other officers is doing?
Okay, so let me just tell you about me. When I have a partner, I let them know, hey, I'm high maintenance. I like to shop. I like to travel. I like nice cars. I like to live in nice places. I like to go to nice restaurants. So if you do something that is not right, I'm going to sing like a canary because this is my job that you're dealing with. And I'm not going to back you up for something that you know is wrong and lose my livelihood because you want to be not a good person. And that's the words I will use for that. So my partners knew, but sometimes when you come to a call, you're the backup person. Now, me, as the person that I am, I'm pretty good at talking situations down because I don't like to fight. Because in a fight, you could lose your gun, you could get shot with your gun, you could hurt yourself. So I like to talk to people and try to bring them down. Whereas I know men and their testosterone, hopefully I can say that, they work in a different way than women and their estrogen. And plus, we're not as strong as men. So we learn how to cope in better ways. So when I have come up on situations where I see things are not getting good, I normally be like, time out, hold on, wait a minute. And I'll remind them, hey, do you want your job? Are you trying to go to jail? I don't know. Maybe you should get your knee off his neck. Okay, he's calm. Let's back up. And in the police department, there is a lot of racism and there's a lot of, men who don't want women for partners because they think I'm going to have to take care of myself and her. She can't handle being a cop. So you deal with that as well. And, being a Black female, it's just, you have all these things stacked up against you. So you have to prove yourself. But I let them know, look, when I've seen things that weren't good, I jump in the middle, time out, let's take a time out. Everybody wants to go home on time. This person wants to be able to go home. Let's just take a minute and let's try to work it out. And sometimes you'll get officers who are just like jerks, and you're like, fine, you call the sergeant. Um, whatever your call sign is, I need a sergeant at this location immediately. And that way the sergeant comes and they can, because there's no reason, there shouldn't have been someone with authority with this man on his neck for 9 minutes. There should have been a sergeant somewhere, but because they were covering for each other, they had an agenda. No one called for the boss. If I can't get them to stop, then you call for a supervisor.
Have you yourself ever been in a situation like this where you've witnessed police brutality?
Yeah, and normally, I'm like, hey, what's happening? No, 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 no. I try because remember, these are your fellow officers and they're the ones who are backing you up in the case that you get in a situation. So you have to know it's a skill. You have to know how to talk to people and how to get things to go in your way, but make it look like it's perfect. And in the end, it turns out to be a positive situation for everyone. A lot of times I'd be like, hey, I got it, hold on. But once the fight starts and now you're on the ground, you're like, okay, because when you're fighting and you got a whole bunch of police officers, I mean, you're getting hit too, but you're getting hit sometimes from your fellow officers, because they're just, and I'm like, stop, hold on. In the meantime, I'm calling for backup and I'm calling for a sergeant. And normally when there's a fight like that, the sergeants are coming anyway because they hear it. They're like, okay, my officers are in a fight. They need to come because he has equipment or she in their unit that in case we have to escalate things, they're there and they have the equipment for us to use. They don't trust us with some things which they shouldn't. So yeah, there's been a time where, and the good thing is because I had a good relationship with these officers, they were like, they powered down really quick and we got the situation under control and there was no problems. We got the guy arrested. He wasn't hurt. And normally after you deal with something, I go to the guy, I'm like, hey, how you feeling? You're okay? To the suspect, like, do I need to call an ambulance? Is there anything I need to do for you? Are you hurting? Okay, let's just get you to jail peacefully from this point on. Can we do that? If you talk to people like they're people, they tend to, go with the program. But when you start to disrespect them and treat them like they're animals, of course they're going to resist. So it just comes from training and just knowing how to deal with people. And a lot of people do not know how to deal with people. They go from passion, which gets you into trouble. You have to step back, take a minute, take a breath, and then proceed.
No, it's really insightful, Gwen. And I know that there are good cops, but there's also bad cops.
Yes.
So there's just a lot of argument right now, like on the internet, with people just saying, like, not all cops are bad. And yeah, I agree with that. But as long as there are bad cops in the system, honestly, like Black lives, like those communities will not be safe. So what do you think the answer is to weeding out the bad cops?
Okay, this is a very complicated question, and I'm gonna tell you why. I used to be a background investigator, which meant that if you wanted to become a police officer, I was the person who, when you came to take your written exam, me and other police deputies, we would interview you for the position. And in that interview, you can kind of read to see how people are. But even if they had like tattoos of swastikas on their hands, we can't eliminate them at that point. So as they get into the background, like that's something you would flag for the background investigators. So when I've dealt with people, I try to dig and find out stuff. Like I go to their Facebook page, their Twitter page. Back then they had, oh, what was the first? I can't think of the first one that they used to have, but we would go and we dig and try to find out. We go and we talk to their friends, we talk to their neighbors, we talk to people to see who this person really, really is, because there are some people that definitely came through that were very white nationalists, and they wanted to become police officers, and they were trying to infiltrate the police department. In order to get hired onto a police department, you have to have a psych, we call it a psych exam. So you have to go through a background check, and you have to go through a medical, and you have to go to a psychologist, and hopefully the psychologist can weed that out. But some people slip through. And even people who may start out good, they get caught up in that, I want to be one of the boys. They don't want to be left out. So they get sucked into this vacuum of these other guys who have an agenda from the get-go. They're like, we're going to become cops, we're going to go to the hood, and we're going to kick some Black booty or Latino booty.
Wow.
So yeah.
Is it easy to convict cops? Because I know a lot of them are protected by unions. Is it easy to
Yeah,
charge than convict? I mean,
it's really hard. That's what they were saying about even this case with George Floyd. They're like, okay, we've got him arrested, but there's not a lot of cops that have been convicted, more so in the last few years than in the history ever. But I think there is going to be a change. I really feel as though there's going to be a change. What I do worry about is that Trump has been in office and he has appointed a lot of judges. He's had like over 160 some judges that he has appointed that aren't even really qualified, barely to be lawyers, but now they're judges. So my worry is that sometimes these cops will come up again in front of these judges that are very, pro-Trump, pro-white nationalists, and these cops could get away with it. But I think hopefully that, George Floyd didn't die in vain, that this will bring change. Just recently, an older man was walking and he walked up to the police, and 75 years old, he was no threat, and they pushed him and he fell back. And you could see his head bleeding, and the one officer tried to help him and the other guy pushed him forward, and they just walked past this 75-year-old man on the ground bleeding. They just kept walking. I
oh
was
my
in Buffalo, New
God,
York.
my
Yes, I
God.
was in Buffalo. That happened yesterday. And so those officers have been suspended, and they're going to be investigated as well. So I like that things are happening quicker now. And
Yeah.
hopefully, if enough officers are are reaping the repercussions of their actions, maybe this will slow down some of the crazy that has been going. They can understand, like, oh, I can't just continue to get away with it. If this happened, I could lose my job and I can never get another job as a police officer or security or private investigator ever again. So that's
Yeah.
the hope.
Do you feel like it's sort of becoming like, just to give an example, sort of like a Me Too movement against these aggressive cops that are in the system?
Um, I I I think so. I think, yeah. I think I what I love is that people see it now. Like it's been there. And it's been out there, but even here, like people are protesting. They're protesting. I'll never forget, right after it happened, people in London the next day, thousands of people in Trafalgar Square. I was like, that's powerful. People in Berlin. I'm like, really? You know,
Yeah.
then Spain, Italy. I'm like, and people, we're going through a pandemic right now. People are like, I'm putting my life on the line to come out here to say, this is wrong. This
Yeah.
is wrong. I could die from coronavirus, but how can I sit back and let that happen anymore? And I think because people are good. There's a small percentage that's not, but people in general are good. And when they see something bad, they do something about it. So I think this is definitely going to bring change. It's going to take a lot of change because what we have in America is systemic racism. That has been since the first time Black people have, were brought here as slaves. And, you know, but you need a person in office that's going to help the situation and not continue to work against the situation and make the situation worse. So it's going to have to be a complete effort with everyone, the Senate, Congress, everyone. So once it starts to change at the top, it will trickle down and things will get better.
No, and I definitely hope that happens too. And it's like you said, like there's power in numbers, and I think a large majority of people are inherently good. I mean, yesterday I went to the vigil here in Barcelona, and it was just so beautiful to see how many people came out, and like you said, in the middle of a pandemic, because they want to do something, they want to express their solidarity. And I'm going to go again on Sunday, and I mean, I feel like it's this willingness that just compels you, like you have to do something. Even when you just send out prayers into the universe, I feel like that's helping, because I
Yes.
can't just not do anything.
Right.
So I share what you're saying. um Another thing I wanted to ask you, there is this blue code of silence that exists among the police, in the police department. For anybody who doesn't know what the blue code of silence is, it's basically an unwritten code that exists among police officers that protects them from being charged when they see an illegal, if any of one of them should commit an illegal act, such as police brutality, basically so that they don't get ratted out. Is that right? Am I explaining that correctly, Gwen?
That's pretty correct.
Okay.
Um, it becomes complicated when you've seen something and another officer has done something wrong, and you need to tell. Is why I let people know immediately, hey, I'm going to sing like a canary, so don't do anything scandalous in front of me. But a lot of people feel that pressure that if I tell, I'm not going to get the backup. If I'm in a fight, people are going to take their time coming to my fight, and that's not the way it should be. Um, but when that stuff is found out, trust me, the bosses, the supervisors, they weed that out quick and they let them know, hey, this is not tolerated here. And if you get caught doing it, you can definitely, reap some repercussions from that. But when you look at what happened to George Floyd, obviously they were part of a unit. They worked together. They didn't do anything to make a difference in how this outcome came. And, I just, yeah, it doesn't look good at all. It seems like that was kind of that code blue thing, we're
Yeah.
just going to sit together and do this thing. What I really want is for these things to stop, for people to stop and think before you do things. Just do your job properly the way that you are trained, because they don't train you like this. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry, go
actually, I'm
ahead.
sorry. I just wanted to, I'm sorry, don't mean to cut you off, but in response to that, when you're trained, is there racial profiling?
No,
No. Okay,
no,
good.
not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Everyone is the same. Whatever crime you're committing, it's just the same. It has nothing to do. You could be orange, green, purple, or blue. It has nothing to do with that. They don't train you that way. You just do your job like you were trained to do, and things will get better. That's my hope. That's my prayer.
Okay. Gwen, I just want to say thank you so much for your insight. I've learned a lot from you and your experience. I hope everybody, can follow your example and just do the best they can, treat everybody like humans, treat everybody equally. That is what we are pushing and striving for now. This is just the beginning. I can't imagine it ending. Like, this is just the beginning. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, you too, honey. Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.